You're listening to a special bonus episode of the Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Welcome to my first four preview here on the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk. And what this is I'm going to talk about the 8 teams that are going to play tomorrow to kick off March Madness. I don't want to hear this nonsense that the first 4 isn't the real tournament. No, it is. It starts off March Madness. In fact, in some cases, it benefits the winning team because they now have a game under the bright lights under their belt. So I'm going to go through all 4 games, all 8 teams playing tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I'm going to go chronologically. I don't want to jump around the bracket. That's not the right way to do this. By the way, I will tweet out my bracket at RealJacobValk after the first 4 games are over. So late Thursday, early Friday, you'll be able to see my bracket on Twitter, and by the Sweet 16, you can use it as toilet paper. Now, there are a couple things that I don't like about the first 4 before I get into it. I don't like that they have conference winners. They've already gone through their tournament. They've won. They've proven that they deserve to be in the big dance. Why are you making them jump through another hoop? No pun intended. I understand that they're smaller conferences, but they still won those conferences. I can make the argument that a team like Grand Canyon or Hartford or Colgate is more deserving of a spot in the big dance than a team like VCU or Syracuse. A team that barely makes it in to the big dance. At least those smaller schools won their tournament. Those schools like VCU and Syracuse, they limped in. Don't make the conference winners fight it out. Let the at-large teams duke it out. You'll get more people interested, I'll tell you that. With bigger schools in the first 4, a lot of people would want to watch those games. Also, why are the first 4 teams playing for 11 seeds? The way that the bracket should be constructed, and it's not done this way for some ungodly reason, but the way it should be done is the 4 best teams in the nation get the 1 seed. After that, the 2 seed. then the 3 seed, then the 4 seed, etc., etc. You can't tell me that a team like Clemson is better than Winthrop. You can't tell me that Michigan State is better than UNC Greensboro. The further down you get in the seedings, the less quality matters to the committee. And it's just weird. I don't understand it. Have the first 4 games be for the 16 seeds. The right to be the next UMBC. Why does a team like UCLA get an easier opponent in BYU? Why aren't they getting a 1 seed? If they're that bad that they need to win an extra game to even get their logo printed on the Yahoo Sports bracket, why are they getting a 6 seed? Why not a 5 seed, a 4 seed, a 3 seed, a 2 seed, or even a 1 seed? What's the point? I don't understand why the first 4, and the whole bracket for that matter, is set up this way. But regardless, this is the hand that we've been dealt as sports fans. So let's go through the first 4 now. The first game is set to tip off at 5:10 p.m. tomorrow, and it features Mount St. Mary's going up against Texas Southern for the right to face Michigan. I spoke about Mount St. Mary's on Friday. They are a defensive juggernaut. They don't have great defensive players, but Dan Engelstad has done a really good job of slowly integrating a defense-first system to this Mountaineers team. Mount St. Mary's has only given up 62.3 points per game this year. That is the 17th best mark in the nation. Unfortunately for them, they will be without their best player, which has been status quo for them since December 8th. Jalen Gibbs is the best player on the Mountaineers. Unfortunately, he won't be able to play. It's a shame. I'd really like to see him ball out with the lights on bright. But now we get to see what guys like Damian Chong-Kee and Nana Opoku can do with the lights on bright. Give those guys credit. They stepped up when Gibbs went down and really helped Mount St. Mary's win the Northeast Conference. You've also got to give Mezio Forum a lot of credit for being a ball hawk when it comes to steals. The guy averages 1.5 steals per game. You've also got to keep an eye on Malik Jefferson, DeAndre Thomas, and Josh Reeves. Those guys are solid players for Mount St. Mary's also. They don't set the world on fire, but you'll see them make a few good plays. When you look at the Texas Southern Tigers, the first thing that catches your eye is the coach. Johnny Jones is their head coach. Yeah, that's right. The former LSU coach really likes coaching teams that have the Tigers as their nickname. So Jones is back in the big dance for the first time since 2015. The guy's been coaching college basketball for a long time, has done a good job wherever he's been. He was good at North Texas. Overall, he was good at LSU, even though it ended really badly there in 16-17. The Tigers were terrible. And with Texas Southern, he's been really good. The Tigers are a very well-rounded team. They can score, they can defend, specifically, they can defend in the interior. They are 29th in the nation in blocks per game, 4.6. They have 3 guys, Michael Weathers, John Walker, and Jordan Carl Nicholas, who average over a block per game. Now that's going to be tough for a Mount St. Mary's team that struggles to score anyway and doesn't have a player on their roster that's taller than 6'9". I mean, granted, Texas Southern is vertically challenged also, but those 3 guys that I mentioned are a lot more comfortable in the low post than anyone that the Mountaineers have. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Galen Alexander and Justin Hopkins. Very solid players. If Mount St. Mary's is going to win, they've got to be able to hit their threes. I don't see them having a lot of success driving to the hoop constantly. I think Texas Southern is too good there. If the Tigers are going to win, they just need to play their game. Overall, they are a better team than Mount St. Mary's. They won the SWAC when they weren't expected to. They destroyed Alcorn State. They beat Jackson State in overtime. And they won the tournament by beating Prairie View. They are better than Mount St. Mary's. I've got to pick the Tigers here. Moving on now to the 6:27 tip-off. That, of course, is Drake taking on Wichita State. The winner of that game will get to face USC. Now, I've spoken about Drake before. I like Drake. I think they've been perennially underrated all year. This is an incredibly well-rounded Bulldogs team. This team should not be in a first 4 game. They are better than a lot of the teams that aren't going to have to play first 4 games. They were undefeated throughout a sizable portion of the season. Give Darian DeVries a ton of credit for what he's done with the Bulldogs. Almost immediately, he turned that team from a laughingstock to a team that at one point was ranked as the 25th best team in the nation by the Associated Press. They have 7 guys that I want you to key in on. I'll start with their starting lineup. Shanquan Hemfo, Roman Penn, DJ Wilkins, Tremel Murphy, and Darnell Brody. All of those guys, with the exception of Brody, are averaging over 10 points per game. And Brody is a very good low post player. He's averaging 7.7 points per game. They're all layups close to the hoop. And 7.2 rebounds per game. Off the bench, they have two very talented players. Joseph Yasufu is a really good shooter. He shot 37.1% from beyond the arc this year. 12.1 points per game. He was Drake's second leading scorer, and he's coming off the bench. And Garrett Sturtz is a good interior player off the bench. Drake is incredibly well balanced. I really like watching them play. As for Wichita State, they're another well-rounded team. Not as well-rounded as Drake, though. But give Isaac Brown credit. He came in a tough spot, replacing a great coach in Greg Marshall. And Brown has held his own. The Shockers went 16-5 this year. They have an excellent player in Tyson Etienne. With Etienne on the floor, the Shockers will always have the best player on the court. By far, not even close. He's got some good supporting pieces. Alterique Gilbert, Morris Udezi, Dexter Dennis, Ricky Council IV, and Trey Wade are all solid players. None of them are great, though. The only great player that Wichita State has is Etienne. You can't overstate his importance. If the Shockers are going to win this game, Etienne needs to go off. He's got to score 30, at least. I hope he gets a good night's sleep, has a good breakfast, a good lunch, because the Shockers have no chance of winning if he has an off night. As for Drake, I would double Etienne constantly. I definitely double him on the drive. Even on the catch, I may double him. I'll let those other guys beat me. Let those guys go off. If I can limit Etienne, I've got a great shot of winning this thing if I'm a Bulldog. Key in on him on every possession. Don't lose him. Go Jordan rules on him. All in all, I think Drake is the more well-rounded team. Drake has a lot of guys who can beat you. Wichita State only has one. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs. And I'll even go a step further. I'll give you a sneak peek into my bracket. Assuming Drake wins, I think they'll beat USC. I think they're a better team than the Trojans. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. The bottom line is, I think Drake will win. Moving on now to the 8:40 tip-off. That is Appalachian State versus Norfolk State. They'll be going at it for the right to lose to the number 1 overall seed, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. I've spoken about the Mountaineers before. Dustin Kearns has done a really good job of instituting a defense-first system very quickly in Boone, North Carolina. He did a good job at Presbyterian. He's doing a good job at App State. He will get offers from big schools down the line. They have 4 guys that you really need to key in on. It should be 5, but Kendall Lewis is out. Those guys are Adrian Delph, Justin Forrest, Michael Almanassi, and Donovan Gregory. They're all really good two-way players. I don't think App State's offense is as bad as the stats would indicate. It's just very top-heavy. Once you get past those 4 guys, there's no one else that scares me. But those 4 guys are capable of going off on any given night. The Mountaineers surprised a lot of people by winning the Sun Belt. All in all, they're a solid team. When you look at Norfolk State, hopefully the guy who you key in on is the coach, Robert Jones. He's been with the Spartans since 13-14 and has done a really good job with them. Norfolk State won their second MEAC regular season championship in the last 3 years. That is impressive. They're a very well-rounded team. They're anchored by 2 guys, Devontae Carter and Joe Bryant Jr. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Keontae Chavis. He's a really good defensive player. But that's really it. These 2 teams are very similar. They're very top-heavy. Once you get past their marquee guys, no one else scares you. I will say that I think Norfolk State has the better depth. Jalen Hawkins, J.J. Matthews, and Kayshawn Hicks are all solid scorers. I don't think anyone outside of the marquee guys on the Mountaineers can match up with those Spartans. So I'm going to go with Norfolk State. The last game to talk about is MSU versus UCLA. That is set to tip off at 9:57 p.m. And the winner of that game will get to face BYU. The best matchup in this game isn't going to be on the court. It's going to be on the sideline. Mick Cronin versus Tom Izzo. You've got a college basketball legend in Izzo. Won a national title with the Spartans in 2000. And you've got Mick Cronin, who's been coaching since 2003 and has been incredibly successful wherever he's been. UCLA is an incredibly deep team. They're anchored by Johnny Juzang, a guy who I think can be a solid NBA player. When you get past him, you'll notice Chris Smith, a guy who UCLA expected a lot from, a senior coming off a year where he was all Pac-12 and the most improved player in the conference, but he only played 8 games before he suffered a season-ending injury. The Bruins didn't let that hurt them, though. A lot of their guys, Jamie Jaquez, I'm pretty sure I butchered that name, I'm sorry, Tiger Campbell, Jules Bernard, and Cody Riley did an excellent job of picking up the slack. The Bruins are one of the deeper teams in the nation. It's a mystery to me how they're in the first four. As for the Spartans, it's not a mystery to me how they're in the first four. They're not that good this year. It's just that simple. They finished under 500 in conference play. They averaged 69 points per game, and on average gave up 70.6. And somehow they're in the big dance. Gotta love it. The Spartans do have some good players. Aaron Henry is a really valuable junior. I like him a lot. Very coachable, good kid. And Joey Hauser and Joshua Langford are solid players. But that's all I can say. Rocket Watts had a really disappointing season. The defense on the Spartans is non-existent outside of Henry. If they're going to win this game, they need Henry to go off. They need him to be the best player, not just of that game, but of that day. Of the 8 teams playing. And all the players that will be trotted out, Henry has to be better than all of them. Do you see that happening? Yeah, I don't either. UCLA can rely on their depth. I could even make the argument that Johnny Juzang is a better offensive player than Henry. The Bruins have the better depth. They're going to wear down the Spartans very easily and very quickly. I don't see how MSU puts up a fight in this game. Give me UCLA. Until Friday for my round of 64 preview, I am Jacob Valk saying that the bullpen is a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there.